Alex, can you help him with the StreamYard link right there, my brother? He said it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else good now, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
Good morning, the Rise Up Morning Show.
That's right. It's your place for helpful news, commentary, and of course, answers to your crypto questions. And the big news of the day is, of course, that the U.S. election has been decided in favor of former president, now current or soon to be president, Donald J. Trump. The Senate flipped with a majority of 51 going to Republican senators, and the House of Representatives remains undecided as the votes are still being counted in several key states. But we're happy to get into it in the days ahead, what it means for crypto, with folks like Elizabeth Warren retaining their seat, with folks like Sherrod Brown losing their seat, and some news outlets reporting that Bitcoin is surging, even though it's only up 3% on the week. So who knows where we'll go. If you invested in Dogecoin, big congratulations to you. That gamble paid off. I hope that everybody else is doing okay today. Will, I got you here in StreamYard, but I don't see you over in the...
I am delayed.
I am delayed.
I am delayed.
Isn't that what Gandalf says? I was delayed.
And no, maybe, but he also says that a wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he is meant to.
Which is why I feel like that line, I was delayed. I think he says that when he was detained by Saruman at the tower. I don't remember where the hell he was going, but I remember being a kid and being like, I thought you arrived precisely when you meant to. But Gandalf aside, welcome to the show, everybody. If you're new or you're seeing us for the first time, this is the Rise Up Morning Show, and we are live Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. We also have a YouTube channel if you're watching us on TikTok. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're live on TikTok also. We have a Discord community where the show lives 24/7 and a variety of free educational resources for you to check out there, as well as live classes, coaching, other things to help you accelerate your crypto learning journey. Alex often says learning about crypto can be like drinking from a fire hose. And boy, is that the truth. And we're here to try and make it a little easier, break big ideas down into everyday language so that you can understand what they are, why they matter, how to get involved safely, and become a more self-sufficient investor, if that's what you're here for. So thank you for trusting us to help you with that. Commander Will, your headset looks fantastic.
Does my voice sound crispy? Oh, wait.
It sounds
no,
crispy.
It doesn't. It sounds echoey.
You rugged your...
How about now? How about now? Does it sound crispy?
Much better.
It sounded like a crispy alien before, man, but now you're...
I'm going to be getting a new one of these guys so it connects directly into here and everyone can hear me.
Man, that's the play, man. I would love to get some, like, my board works with Bluetooth, but the whole Bluetooth headset thing doesn't work well for me. I might in the future try and figure out a way to feed so I don't have to wear these ridiculous headphones. But for now, we all look like we're Navy pilots also.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you more than us.
Hadley is backstage, just FYI.
Magnificent.
Yes.
Then let's bring him on. And as folks come in, we can give him a brief introduction. And there he is.
There he is.
Good morning. How are you?
Welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
Morning, Hadley.
How are you?
I'm doing great today. How are you guys?
Doing great. Thank you. Really quickly.
Good. A little tired.
If you're on TikTok,
I don't know why.
Yeah.
If you're on TikTok and you're looking for Hadley, then head on over to the YouTube channel. You can find right here at this link, or theriseupmorningshow.com if you want to see his beautiful face. Hadley, thanks for joining us. Will, you want to lead some discussion, because you guys have had a connection for a minute, and I would love to get started by having Hadley introduce himself, but also hearing from you, Will, just your thoughts and what you'd like to get his perspective on today, why you brought him to our attention. I'm certainly excited to have you on the show, Hadley.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so for everybody on Twitter and YouTube and TikTok as well, Hadley Stern, I met you. We're talking to you directly. So I've got all these different cameras where you are and you aren't. But we met at a Solana Boston event a couple weeks ago. And for those of you who don't know, Hadley recently became the Chief Commercial Officer for Marinade Finance, one of the largest DeFi protocols and staking protocols for Solana. He also, created the Bitcoin incubator program at Fidelity. I think it was in 2012 or 2014. So it was really early when I saw Hadley chat about his experience there and how Marinade is working with institutional investors who are interested in staking Solana specifically. I was like, I got to make sure I go interrupt him as he eats his Jimmy John's sandwich and have a conversation and try to get him on the show. For our audience here of just about 500 people on TikTok right now, which is pretty good. But yeah, that's cool. That's it. And then hounded him down. We're able to get him here to chat, and most interested to talk about like institutional use of DeFi products, because in our heads immediately you think DeFi institutions, they're kind of at heads with one another. So it's interesting to see kind of a bridging, but also want to chat with Hadley being in the space for longer than the three of us, even just kind of his experience. And yeah, so Hadley, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to the intro, sir.
No, I think that was great. I'm still a little upset about the Jimmy John sandwich, but I've recovered. But you owe me half a sandwich. No, it's great to meet you at the conference, and happy to be here to talk all things crypto and take the conversation wherever you want. As you mentioned, I've been in this space since 2014. And for the first 4 years, so 2014 to 2018, I was part of the very early team at Fidelity Investments, helping build their digital asset custody business and doing a bunch of different experiments with crypto. Some that are kind of funny, like that was the time when the Bitcoin narrative was really, it was going to be a payment vehicle. So we did an experiment to allow people to pay with Bitcoin in the Fidelity cafeteria, and learned all kinds of fun things, like, the time it takes, and you have to, do you let someone go off with a $10 sandwich and wait the 10 minutes? What if
do you put them in a holding cell?
Yeah. What if
just wait, ma'am?
What if it's like they buy
and don't take a bite
of stuff?
Yeah.
I went to join the DeFi startup space company Block, BLOQ, which is Jeff Garzik and Matt Rozak's blockchain infrastructure company. And Jeff is just an amazing technical person, and Matt on the business side. Then I went back to TradFi at Bank of New York Mellon and helped build their digital asset custody business. And for a variety of regulatory reasons, a lot of that was put on hold, although I'm hopeful it's coming back. And then now back in the DeFi world. So that's a little bit about me, but happy to take the conversation wherever you think is best for your listeners, and see where it goes.
Well, here's a quick round of applause from everybody for you, because we're grateful to you for making time to share from your valuable perspective on the history of our space.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Get ready for Evan's fantastic skills on the soundboard.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm most interested in your personal story, Hadley, is obviously you had to have been doing something in crypto, maybe, or at least something crypto specific that had Fidelity kind of tap you on the shoulder, like, hey, we want you to lead this Bitcoin incubator. So were you in the space, or were you not in the space at all? And you're like, this is something new, I'll explore it.
Yeah. So it was in 2013, I was managing all the design, development, product management teams in Fidelity Labs, which is an internal incubator. It's also known as the Fidelity Center for Applied Technology. And then, I had a great relationship with my boss. He's still a friend. And in my end of year, I was like, look, I love working on all these different things, but if there's anything strategic or interesting that comes up where you need someone to focus on something and provide leadership, let me know. And careful what you wish for. I was this corporate word, voluntold, to head up the Bitcoin incubator. So I can honestly say that I heard about Bitcoin. Of course, I knew about it. I did not get it. I was not in it. And I can also say that for the first probably 2 or 3 months, I was pretty skeptical, because one of the funny things about being in that team is you saw a lot of things come and go, and you saw a lot of things stick. So I'll give you an example. This may sound completely bizarre, but I was part of a team, I think in 2004, that launched a podcast pilot for Fidelity. Now let's rewind in history. There was no way to do a podcast yourself. You had to manually create an RSS feed that was ingested into Apple Podcasts, and no one really knew about it. So that was an innovation project. We also did the same thing with the first iPhone app for Fidelity, also not clear. But we also did things that weren't a success, like Second Life. In 2012, 2013, good old Second Life and Linden dollars, you probably remember companies were building presences in Second Life, and there was this hypothesis that we would be spending all day in Second Life. So I had seen things come and go. And so when I was like, I was not sure for the first few months. I was like, this Bitcoin thing, and then once you get in it, and I think for a lot of people early on when it was just Bitcoin, the thing that you had to digest was mining. Once I understood mining and what was going on, it was kind of this aha moment of, okay, this is nuts. Like, and kudos to Abby Johnson, the CEO and president of Fidelity. She was basically the one who put the company in that direction. I know from conversations that we had as a team that what she saw in Bitcoin in 2013 was she saw a system that validated the transfer of value through software and software alone, open source, no company. And she saw at that time about 50,000 people at Fidelity. That ostensibly what TradFi does is validate the transfer of value between people. And I think what she saw, and then what I eventually saw was, well, wait a sec, like there's this way to do it with decentralized systems. That's incredibly powerful. So short story, I cannot claim that I stumbled across Bitcoin and was intellectually fell in love. Have you guys heard of I think it's called the slash dotting of Bitcoin? Do you know about that?
The slash whatting?
The slash dotting.
So Slashdot was a big website back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kind of sounding like an old boomer here.
No, I like that though.
But Slashdot was a big tech website, kind of a news website. And I believe in 2011, you'll have to look it up. There was a Slashdot article on Bitcoin. And a lot of people, including, I think, Jeff Garzik, entered the space at that point. So in the history of Bitcoin, there's kind of like the 2008 insane OGs. Then there's the 2011 Slashdot. And then there was 2014, which was kind of another moment when a lot of people joined. And then there was kind of 2018.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in that 2017 wave.
Yeah, we're all in the class of 2017.
Yeah, we're all in the class of 2017. It was Ethereum that got me. The idea of programmable money.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, that's interesting. I was like, you can build applications on this stuff, and that got me in. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I just like the name.
Yeah, Ethereum was a great name. I'm curious to know,
name.
if you, I love asking about the light bulb moments that people had, and you articulated one of them that eventually clicked for me about the hardware, the actual physical infrastructure being subordinate to the code.
Yeah.
In order to do middleman type transactions to facilitate trust between people who might not know each other. That was a big light bulb for me. But was there any moment that you remember like going from being like, okay, we're doing innovative stuff. We've got a podcast, for God's sake. We're trying this Bitcoin thing. Yeah, it sounds cool. I trust my colleagues. I'm going to do it. But can you think of any crystal moments that helped you see a little more clearly into why this might actually matter to you personally, or more broadly, the people that you work for, and all of us?
I think the personal thing is an interesting conversation because, when I started, it was pre-ETH. So the primary narrative was really going back to the Satoshi white paper, which I appreciate the irony of doing this at Fidelity, although Fidelity is a really unique place. But, the Satoshi white paper and that philosophy, not getting too much into politics, especially after last night. But,
we'll get your thoughts on that at the end.
Yeah, but I've always had a very slight libertarian bent or suspicion of centralized systems. And so I think this, once you understand the elegance of what's going on with Bitcoin and you compare that to what you do in your life with the transfer of value, with all these intermediaries and regulators and banks and all these hops, and then you see the elegance. That was definitely an aha moment. As the space progressed, Ethereum was definitely an aha moment as well. You know, this idea of as we said, programmable money, but also programmable businesses. I just think once you cross the chasm, although it's a hard one for people to cross and like do stuff in DeFi, and I would define DeFi in the Bitcoin days as not buying. You could buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, but then downloading a software wallet and actually using it that way. Once you experience that, as clunky as, I'm not sure if I can swear, as clunky as
Go for it.
Go for it.
As clunky
Sure
as shit
can.
still is on the UX front, like it's there's so much work to be done. I've always had a software design bent, and so once you experience those things, it's just kind of cool. You're like, wait a sec, I'm doing all this stuff that normally I'd have to open up, I don't know, 10 different accounts at different places and wait a few months, and I'm going from one token to the other and swapping without an intermediary. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
of course.
that was the first thing that I started looking at, because after Ethereum, I worked backwards like most people. I went and dove into an altcoin before ever taking a real look at Bitcoin. But at the time, I was working at a company called SAS Analytics Company, and working in sales for them. But I worked with data scientists for the first 7-8 years of my career. So I started writing articles and blogs on how Bitcoin specifically could change like the remittance markets, but then also specifically how blockchain technology just in and of itself could drastically affect the analytics, predictive analytics markets across supply chain, across banking with anti-money laundering and fraud detection, across a whole bunch of other things. So it's like, it's just, whatever gets you into the space at first, you then quickly like when you put your head in water, or it's like that's not a good analogy. It's like when you start to get your night vision, you see the first thing in front of you, and then you start to see more of the room or the environment than you're in, and you realize there's just so much more stuff that could be done. And then new technology keeps coming out, new use cases. It's a really fun space to be in. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And Hadley, I went on your LinkedIn, and I was curious what your corporate journey was that led from Fidelity all the way to Marinade. And there are
from TradFi to DeFi, right?
Yeah, from TradFi to DeFi, from the dark to the light. But one of the things that I saw, I was like, interesting. I don't know if this necessarily fits on your resume, and I'm curious. It was your position at the head of AWS's innovation lab.
Yeah,
and it was like smack dab in the middle of this Web3 stuff. So I was like, were you working on something at Amazon that you can or can't talk about? But like, I'm curious about that path and if it had anything to do with Web3 at Amazon.
Yeah, I mean that was a sort of an 18-month period. It was a very interesting period. A lot of that was somewhat COVID related to some of the economic dynamics going on in the crypto space, and I think we all remember what a weird time that was. Let's not go back there, please. But yeah, I was partly, that was mostly a role harkening back to my innovation work that I had done at Fidelity Labs and experimenting, bring that to Amazon. I was also involved partially in some of the efforts, blockchain efforts there, but I can't really talk about that.
Sure, I figured there'd be something tying you down from that.
Yeah, but there's, I think part of my TradFi or big company to small company, I really have settled down. I think there's been this question of where the innovation is going to come from. And after experiencing, Bank of New York Mellon, really interesting place, kind of the heart of financial services in the US, the soul clear of US treasuries, over $50 trillion of assets under custody. And
just a little bit.
Yeah.
And my sort of takeaway after that experience is, and this was also in the regulatory environment, which we can talk about how much that's going to change. I was just like, the innovation in this space is not going to come from TradFi, at least in the US, at least before yesterday. There are just too many blockers, and I just like to build things and do interesting things. And also, what really appealed to me about Marinade is, Marinade is a really interesting project, and I can talk a little bit more in detail about why. But I believe it's not only about providing the highest reward to users, which we do through Marinade. I believe that staking is going to be a fundamental infrastructure of finance and the world going forwards. Validators are a critical part of proof of stake blockchains like Solana and Ethereum. And so it's about, building that future for where our infrastructure is going to go. Yeah. So a little bit about Marinade. I've been there now 4 months, but interesting. It started 3 years ago out of a Solana hackathon. The company's been bootstrapped, never raised, not even a token raise, and is profitable. What Marinade looked to solve 3 years ago was there was a lot of concern when Solana first launched around centralization of validators, right? You don't want to only have 10 validators on a proof of stake network. And so Marinade came up with this really novel idea where we don't run any validators ourselves. So unlike when you stake with Coinbase directly, you're basically staking on Coinbase's validator infrastructure, and you get whatever yield they can get best.
Yep.
With Marinade, when you stake with us, we take your Solana, and there's two different ways we do it: a liquid staking token that you can't use in the US, and a native staking, which I'll talk more about in a second. But we take that stake and we automatically distribute it to hundreds of validators in real time. So say you deposit 100 SOL with us, that SOL may go in 1 SOL increments to 100 validators, or it could go to 150 validators, but it will add up to 100. And on the validator side, they connect with us programmatically, and we have a stake auction marketplace mechanism where they bid for stake. And that leads to this higher yield than you can get anywhere else. So the company was basically the first liquid staking token on Solana. It's been really fun traveling around, meeting different people, and people have this emotional attachment to MSOL, which is the liquid staking token, because it was really often people's first experience staking with Solana. So you can see there's over $1.5 billion of US locked up on the protocol. And about a year ago, the CEO started getting inquiries from institutions. And that led to this pivot to Marinade Native. Marinade Native is not a liquid staking token, so there's no token which institutions like. There's no smart contract risk because the native part is we're using the native protocol parts of Solana. What's really interesting about Solana, unlike Ethereum, which we all love, of course, is that Solana has this within the protocol a withdrawal and delegate function. So when you stake with Marinade Native, you retain the rights to withdraw your Solana, but you give Marinade the delegation authority to delegate that stake. Short story of why institutions and why anyone should love that is if Marinade goes away in the middle of the night, disappear, you still have access to your SOL. So I joined to help build up the institutional business for Solana. Just very excited to be here. And it's been because like you guys, it sounds like you all were ETH early. I was as well. And so I have this kind of emotional attachment to ETH because a lot of my first DeFi shenanigans were in ETH.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those shenanigans involved, oh crap, I'm trying to get $500 and the gas fees are $300. What do I do? God bless Ethereum. But so in joining Marinade, I had to do my due diligence on Solana. Like, what is this? And I had the narrative that is, out there that it's very centralized and it's had issues.
And what time was this when you were doing this? Because that would really influence the information.
It was not that long. It was like 6-8 months ago.
Okay,
I was talking to Marinade, a very different Solana than early. I cannot claim. I'm curious. Were you guys early in on Solana? What did you think of it?
I was early enough on Solana to be there when it was like in that class of ETH killers, you know, with Near and Aptos and everything. And it was one of many fast, cheap blockchains, and it broke down all the time. And there didn't appear to be a lot of stuff to do there. Not a developer, so I wasn't under the hood. And when we had that, the big dip about 1.5, 2 years ago, and it was trading at like $8, I was in that camp of like, well, might never come back again. And we're pretty famous on this show for having changed our minds about Sol when we saw all of the activity on that chain and heard from all the developers there and saw it breaking down now because people were using it and using it big time. So around the time you were kind of doing that research, we were also in the midst of a come to Jesus moment, you know, and of course Pump.Fun and everything was happening. And then we got Blinks and, so we've had a real 180. Not that we were ever bearish on Solana or wanted it to fail, but we were all kind of like, well, you know.
I was definitely bearish on it, even on like its big rise in the last bull cycle. So I was like, it keeps breaking. Like, you know, after this cycle, it's in a category right now as a coin that's going to end up going away and become a zombie chain. But then as something that Alex, you mentioned a few times when you talk about Solana, it's like when you see a coin, there was no other altcoin, there's no other cryptocurrency ever that in that time period when you had FTX collapsing, you had all the pauses and shutdowns, you know, all these, you know, the venture capitalists and other organizations who were going bankrupt, who were going to have to sell all their stuff, you know, there was no other coin at the time other than Terra Luna that was being faced with as much bearish pressure from so many different angles in such a large way, and yet it came back. And Alex, I always think of you when I think of this, because I'm like, if there's ever a coin, an altcoin that can prove to you that it might actually be around for the long term, like a Bitcoin, like an Ethereum, maybe a Chainlink, you know, Solana's in that category because that amount of pressure to be able to survive that is crazy. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys saw last night, but Solana passed BNB and got the number 4 spot.
Yeah, deserved in my opinion.
Well, really, honestly.
Yeah.
But I did not see what's the I'll have to look it up, see the market.
I think, Evan, what you said is really interesting. I hadn't thought about it. It's like, it's breaking early on because people are actually using it, and that's part of the hardening. It's like what I find so interesting as well, and I don't know what you think about this, is then of course, like, okay, so Solana's the big boy in the room right now, it's getting all the love. Sui, these other, you know, and so where does that, and what does that, all these other coins that are gunning after, and I'm not talking about the Aptos that were around the same time as Solana, I'm talking about the newer coins. It's just so interesting to see. It's almost like there's this, in Ethereum, it was really the L2 thing. Now in Solana, it's like other L1s that are claiming to, I think, trying to do what Solana has done. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Is that 24 hours, the 14%?
24 hours.
Yep.
Amen.
Alex, keep it up for a second. I'm going to flip over my screen so the folks on TikTok can see this chart too.
Yeah.
I think
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
interesting comparison, just, you know, what's coming for Solana. I mean, to be honest, it's sort of similar the way that, you know, ETH killer was a huge narrative before, and then people realized, like, okay, maybe that's not necessarily the play. But I don't know, the thing about Solana that you're going to have to steal in order to replace, because, I mean, you could sit here and say, sure, there's stuff that's probably technically faster, that's probably technically, you know, this or that, or pick a metric
in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you know, pick a metric or whatever. But you have this thing with Solana that they have acquired through a very valiant campaign, and, you know, the rise from the ashes following FTX and all that sort of stuff, which is just the people, and you can't just pull those people somewhere else. So regardless, that's been the biggest shift for me, is like, you know, at first I was exclusively thinking about the fact that it was a blockchain with downtime. And then you really start to realize more and more and more the systems that we use every single day, the things that we're the most used to, things like Verizon, Xfinity. I mean, things that literally go down every 20 minutes and stay down, and people categorically dislike the experience of, are still the titans of that industry. And so if people are having a good time on Solana and there has been like minimal downtime, the general user base really doesn't give a shit about the ultra technical pieces of, you know, blockchain as an institution and the zero downtime kind of whatever. If they can go there, there's things to do and they can have a good time doing it. The rest of it kind of all falls by the wayside. And I just have a very hard time imagining that something's going to steal that from Solana anytime soon. You're not just going to like pop into the space with Sui being like, we're a little faster, and have all of the users on Solana be like, you're right, we're done. Let's hop ship.
Yeah.
You know,
and the other thing too is like at this point, almost everything I've ever used on Solana, your Marinade, your Jaido, your Jupiter, your Radium, your SoulScan, everything, even just
the list
like
is long.
ancillary things, they're all super easy to use for me. If you have a person who's new to crypto, they have to learn about wallets and all that kind of stuff. But it's just a really nice interface. So not only does Solana already have the people, but they have a much easier experience that they provide to folks, whereas all that stuff's still getting built on a Sui. And I like Sui for this cycle as an investment, but time will still tell how much of the market share it can cut out and if it can retain it, right? So, but that's the case with every new platform crypto.
Yeah, you guys are spot on. I mean, again, in doing my diligence on Solana, this fun little framework that I think about in how I live my life and how I work, and I didn't invent it, but like there's the what and the how in everything. So you can have an amazing protocol that's as fast as, does 5,000 transactions per second, has the best smart contracting language. But if you don't have the how of a foundation that knows how to support it, that knows how to be paternalistic, but not overly paternalistic and not control it, and that's what I think Solana has done brilliantly apart from the code, is the foundation is just this. Everyone's very smart. They're very lean, but they're very strategic. So, and that brings us to the institutional story when, thinking back to 2014 and Fidelity, we were thinking about how these blockchain networks could be used for financial services infrastructure. And lo and behold, with something like Solana now, that's actually possible at scale. That's why I believe it dominates USDC. And you're starting to see some announcements from different financial services institutions that are going to be issuing securities on top of Solana. And again, that's the technical piece, but it's also the fact that the Solana Foundation and network is very business-like, very focused, and that it's kind of all ships will rise on the Solana network. So it is absolutely more than just the technology.
Yeah, and actually on that point, guys, it leads to a question I wanted to ask you, because for like as someone who's worked in corporate America myself for the past 9 years, and I've worked at 2 startups, and obviously I've had a number of technical partners who are startups and some who are multi-billion-dollar corporations, like the company I've been working at for a while now. It's, if you have a company that is led by like IT, they always typically renege on like salesmanship and marketing and like good strategies there, like the more business and soft skill side of the business, and it results in problems. That to me has been Cardano. Cardano's leadership, great tech, great methodology, really a lot of builders, but they build geeky stuff for geeks and not for like people to use, which is why I think they've kind of failed. But Solana Foundation is very much so, hey, we're going to let the builders build, right? You guys build, we're going to worry about selling this, marketing this, and positioning it for people and making sure it's usable. So I wanted to get more of your thoughts on Solana Foundation as a business, if you were to think about it as a singular business, and how it's run as compared to maybe others, or your experience, as well as I think I saw I think it was a LinkedIn or a post that you made where you said Breakpoint reminded you of AWS reInvent.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious, like, how your experience has been with how the Solana Foundation kind of runs things, if you will, and how they help Marinade and other projects on Solana.
Yeah, no, great question. And yeah, I was reflecting a little on my time at AWS. I got to go to reInvent in Vegas, which is the huge convention for Amazon Web Services. And Amazon Web Services, it basically invented cloud. And so when you think of going to an Amazon Web Services conference, you think, oh, it's going to be all Amazon. Amazon's probably the smallest part. And you go in and there's this huge floor of all these companies, big companies that have built products and services to service the AWS ecosystem.
Yeah.
And so that's the analogy that I had. My experience I had at Breakpoint in Singapore in September was a smaller version of that because of, the size of AWS, but you had Solana, the network, and then you had all these companies that are Solana specific that are there building products and services on top of Solana. And that's kind of what I meant. I think, with Ethereum, you see it, and I've been to a couple of ETH Denvers, but Ethereum reflects the spirit of the community, which, by the way, is lovely. It's just more disparate. It's not as organized, and I don't think it's as business. It's focused on building products that people use. I feel like a lot of ETH Denver is like infrastructure for infrastructure's sake, and you're talking to companies and really smart people. They're like, who are building things that are, it doesn't have that focus. So, I don't know the foundation intimately. We work with them, and they're early supporters of Marinade, again, because of the things that we help do with decentralizing the network. But that was just my observation with the foundation. It has to be a balance because there are other networks and protocols. Another, a Boston-based one, all due respect to the Algorand team, really innovative technology. But, I think that's where it's like, you can have the technology, but you cannot have the incentives or the way of doing business. And who the hell knows? Like, is it an art? Is it a science? Is it luck? Is it timing?
Sure.
I don't know. But whatever it is, I think Solana just gets it right. They don't overdo things. They're not at every conference. They don't actually, I don't think Solana sponsors any conferences. You never see the Solana logo or
They sometimes throw events.
They throw events, and the foundation
that's
does
where you
that. The hacker houses, which are very popular globally. It's just interesting to see how different networks have approached growth, and also with different constituents, because you got to get the developers, but you got to get the businesses. It's not easy.
No, that's an interesting observation, Hadley, just about sponsoring events, because I hadn't thought about it till right this second. But now I'm like going back through all of the conferences I've been to recently, and Solana has a presence at every single one, but not directly.
Yeah.
But more like tangentially, just because the thing that is doing the sponsorship, in whatever instance, is like so jacked to be doing it with Solana that Solana gets ad space for free on every single one of those things. Like, I'm remembering Consensus, the headline sponsor, or one of the three huge ones that had banners everywhere, was Layer 0, and Solana was right there on the banner every single instance. And I think with response to Algorand and Will, like you mentioned, Cardano, like these are all technically phenomenal institutions that are really, really hyper interesting. But there is a single miss on every single one. Evan and I witnessed the Cardano miss this mark firsthand, and it was egregious.
That Cardano party.
And that's culture.
Man,
sounds like a good one.
Culture really matters.
You didn't miss a thing.
No. What I can tell you exactly what you missed. You missed a weird, angry man with a bullhorn screaming at people in a very tiny room that was somehow allowed to have people in it, despite being on like the 8th floor of a building with only one small shitty elevator.
And the world's slowest elevator, might add.
Oh my God, it was awful. But
I almost sold my Cardano holdings because of that party. It was
we all left that party extremely bearish. Yes, and this was in 2022. So I mean, the culture is super important, and Solana has culture in spades, because I think, like you said, they don't take themselves that seriously. I think it's just different. It's like the vibes are right.
Well, and they don't, it's not, I would say that they don't take themselves seriously. I heard Anatoly speaking on the Unchained podcast, a great talk like 2 weeks ago. And he was commenting on how seriously they take feedback and criticism specifically. They kind of take that personally, it seems like. And I just think that is so great to have a foundation. I think the problem with Ethereum, to touch on what you said, Hadley, is the community is so diverse, big, and divided. And the relationship of the foundation to that community, because it is pretty thoroughly decentralized in terms of look around our space and what do you see in infrastructure. I think there are so many voices. It's hard it's like wrangling cats. It's hard to have a conversation that is productive with that many people. I think Solana has done a really good job of supporting people who want to bring value to the ecosystem by focusing on how to expand the infrastructure in a way that's simple. You know, they don't have 1,000 billion token standards. They have this is what they have. You know, you go build stuff. And I'm curious, you know, what you think about you know, the value of the ecosystem as like a propellant. You know, you're building in the ecosystem and adding value to Sol by kind of, you know, using it as a foundation. And I just am curious, you know, to hear more of your thoughts about that. I actually don't have a specific question cultivating now. I feel like Will's got a question and maybe can take it there, but
no, I mean, I get what you're saying. Again, I think it's this balance of business, but being personable. It's like hard, and being very supportive. You know, there is an ecosystem of Solana startups, and Marinade, I think, is in the top 5 according to TVL. And so
yeah, your TVL is impressive.
And it's massive.
And Michael Repentne, the CEO and founder, he doesn't like to be called CEO. He likes to go by head chef. And that actually, he's very humble, very direct, very technical. And so he's an OG in the Solana community because he was there really early on. But I think there's a dynamic of, and this is also maybe a part of a community thing, where you can have some protocols or communities where if you're not an OG, you're never really in. Yeah. But I think Solana is pretty expansive. It's like the community. I met Marinade through the foundation, through Nick Dukoff, are you all in Boston, by the way?
I'm in Boston. I'm the only one.
Okay. So he's Boston.
We are, as they say, sufficiently decentralized.
Exactly. Well done. So I met Marinade through the foundation. You know, I was looking around and yeah, I think it's again a direct, business-like, but also friendly and so it has those elements. It's a very global community, which most of crypto is. But it's got unique, I think it's obviously got unique strength in the US, in San Francisco, but also a lot of the community is in Europe. So Marinade's actually a Prague-based company. The whole co-founding team and all the developers are there. But there's obviously a huge presence in Zurich with Solana. Yeah, it's fun. It's good people building good stuff and trying to build stuff for users.
Well, and I want to really quickly highlight for everybody, like one of the things I think a lot of our audience are consumers and consumer investors, like retail investors. Yeah. And I think a perspective that is often inaccessible to them or overlooked by them, but which we've seen a lot, is your favorite blockchain is fast, it's cheap, it's got a cool DeFi protocol, but how easy is it for somebody who's building there, whether they're building a game, an agricultural blockchain, you know, whatever, a new stable coin, how easy is it for them to get in touch with people who are like foundation members, if there's a foundation, for core devs, and where is like the grant money, not just money, but like the other kinds of infrastructural support for people who are building there? Where is that flowing? How freely is it flowing? How responsive is the feedback? We built a project a long time ago on Multiverse X, the blockchain formerly known as Elrond, because we loved the idea of being a big fish in a small pond on a network that was fast, cheap, had an awesome sharding. The tech was killer. You know, it resembles Near if you're not familiar with it and you're watching. But the frustration of dealing with, there was just no support there, and we've experienced that in a couple of ecosystems.
The culture was awful.
It was terrible. And that is so important. It doesn't matter if you are doing 1 million TPS and you've got whatever. If there's, it's like having cholesterol in your blood. It just clogs everything up. There's no good forward path because there's so much friction. That's so important.
You hit it though, Evan. You nailed it with the observation from Tolly, you know, that Solana is receptive to feedback. And that was the single biggest, that was the part that killed, you know, any of my desire to even attempt to help Multiverse X improve, was just that we gave lots of feedback. It was a small ecosystem. Like, we had the ear of the CEO. We were the 6th or the 7th NFT project to mint on that blockchain ever.
Yeah.
and they didn't give a they couldn't give less of a shit.
And they had such cool products beyond that too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Skull Elf, a friend of ours, was doing some really cool like security stuff. It just had so much potential,
Mhm.
and they were
Mhm.
just
But
they were
didn't-
not
They weren't
responsive.
interested. They weren't
Nah.
interested.
I'm
in
sure it
turning-
wasn't malicious, but you know,
It's just part of the culture, you know. Doesn't
Part
have
of
to be
the culture.
malicious. It's just
Doesn't have to be malicious.
Cooked in.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, I
but
shared
that's-
a link in the chat. If you want to bring it up, you can. But it's
Oh,
just the
sweet.
Solana events, so your viewers can know. But it's also just shows again. There's this kind of there's this seeding of things by the foundation, and then there's just been organic growth. And I think the way that Will and I met is an example of that. We met at Solana Boston. That wasn't put on by the foundation. I mean, they helped out, I think, with pieces of it, but that came from the community. But you can see here, there's like, if you scroll down, it's like, it's global, right? This is not just a US thing. There are events in all over the world. There are these community meetups, but then there's also, more business focused things like co-working spaces, building, and then more technical. So I would encourage any of your listeners, if you're interested in learning more about Solana, go check out an event. Everyone's really friendly, and you have these serendipitous meetings meeting with Will. So and that's just part of what you can learn from this community. It's the
Yeah.
same. There's a lot of other cryptos that do this, of course, but I think Solana does it in a really unique way.
Yeah, and I will say the Seoul Boston event, I've been to 4 other crypto specific events in Boston, and they were all just not it. You know, they just weren't. The worst one was Neo, if you guys remember Neo from like 1 or 2 cycles ago. But yeah, the Seoul Boston event, everyone was super friendly. Honestly, I've been to a lot of conferences. I'm talking to both cameras now. I've been to a lot of conferences over the past 9 years, and that it was the friendliest environment. Just like walk up and chat with people. Sometimes it can be a little weird to like walk up and introduce yourself to a group and maybe interrupt a conversation. Hey, I'm Will Watson from blah, 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 you know, and start doing your little networking and little small talk. But it was great because you just had a bunch of people who loved Solana, a bunch of people who also liked Ethereum. Everyone was super nice. It was like if you could scrub crypto social media free of all of the toxic assholes and just meet the good people. That was it. That was Seoul Boston. It was really, really nice. Hadley, I'm curious, in your thoughts, other than, you know, attending some of these events, as someone who's gone from, you know, traditional businesses, you know, TradFi, to now being in the decentralized space, what other advice would you have for folks who, like our audience, you know, are interested in working in the Web3 space, but aren't there yet? You know, what are your opinions and thoughts on people trying to make that jump and how to do it?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I get that question quite a bit. I think the first thing is just to use the products and services and tools and fall in love with them. I mean, I was not a big Solana person, but since I've joined Marinade, I am experimenting and understanding all the projects out there, you know, things like Camino, which is really interesting, and just getting to know all the tooling. So I'd say the first thing is, like most things in life, you've got to have a native passion and interest in it, because that has to be genuine. It can't be just, oh, I want a career in Web3 and crypto because it sounds cool and I can make a lot of money. That's probably not going to get you very far. But if you're into the tools, you understand, you dive deep, and also understand not just the tools, but the why behind the tools. Like, why is DeFi and decentralization so important? Why, you know, what is it about it? What's your point of view on that? Where are you hoping to drive that forwards? I think it's a wonderful time. Regardless of who you thought should win last night, I think it's fair to say we can be pretty bullish in the US. We could be entering this once in a lifetime opportunity for explosive growth. Also, for people listening, a career in Web3 doesn't mean development necessarily. It can be, but there's all kinds of things. There's writing, which is very important, communication, marketing, business development, product management, event coordination, what you guys are doing here, communication, and helping people learn and understand. So, don't feel like you have to be have GitHub installed on your computer and be coding away to have a career in Web3. You, of course, should understand the technical pieces, and that's very helpful. So I think it's a fantastic time. You know, I would encourage people to see what's out there. The Solana Foundation lists jobs within the Solana ecosystem, but outside Solana, you know, it's not just about Solana. There's all sorts of opportunities with all sorts of different companies too, which I think is really inspiring. You know, Marinade's a 15-person company. Fidelity has probably, I would say, 800 people right now working full-time in digital assets.
Wow.
Given the businesses that they've grown. So you can go big company, you can go small company, you can go in between. So I would just say start learning, start reading, start doing, and take the opportunities.
Yeah,
You mentioned
well said.
this-
Appreciate the thoughts.
Yeah.
And Hadley, I just want to do a time check. We have you till 9 for another 6
Yeah,
minutes.
that's right. So you got me till 9 o'clock.
Okay,
Great.
Evan, I do want to take a little bit of time to field
Go
questions
ahead.
from the audience as well.
Please.
So go with your
Yeah, let's
question.
do it.
Okay, cool.
And we always also like to get a final thought, good joke, word of wisdom, question, suggestion, you know, criticism from our guests. So be thinking about what yours might be for us, as well as any asks you have of our audience. My question, as we get some from the folks back home, is, you know, you mentioned that DeFi and decentralization are so important, and you touched on staking, of course. But what other innovations on Sol or in Web3 specifically do you see coming that, you know, maybe we can put in legislation? What are you most excited for, if you had to give one or two examples?
I think it's an example that people often go to, so it's nothing unique, but the explosive growth of stablecoins is so interesting. And just starting. And I think we're going to see more adoption of that. You know, on the libertarian front, I'm, you know, and Peter Todd, who's one of the Bitcoin core developers that HBO, you know, stupidly said was Satoshi, but he had a tweet recently, like, the best thing that you can do for freedom is use cash for now, right? Because cash is an anonymous, you know, and you've seen, you know, everywhere is now credit card, and Apple Pay, and look, it's very convenient. But I think it's use cash and then start using stable coins, because they're also this kind of more pseudonymous way of payment. And then you know, from a regulatory standpoint, I just think the regulators have to get their handle around DeFi and tokens and what they are and what they're not. Look, sensible. There's nothing wrong with sensible regulation. Look what happened with FTX. That's not like anything to be proud of. Like that's not something we want. Right?
True.
Someone running $1 billion company and going from balance sheet to balance sheet, or what happened with BlockFi blowing up and Celsius and people. No one wants that, right? But we want to do other stuff that's good. So that was a bit of a rant. So I'm not sure where that concluded. So
No, rants are great. We love
Rants are great.
Rants are great. Yeah.
We're known for them.
Yeah, we are. Alex, do you have a few questions from the audience? Maybe we have time for one or two.
Yeah, I think,
You know, go ahead.
I think there's a sentiment that, you know, we can explore a little bit deeper, but you know, Hadley, I think you're probably also, you know, more uniquely qualified to at least offer your insight on this, because I've seen this before. You know, that Solana's big. You know, people recognize that there's exciting things happening there. You know, I think they've hit on DeFi, which we all love to say is, you know, one of the only narratives in the entire crypto space that actually has, you know, decent adoption with its target customer base instead of just with speculators, which is obviously very powerful. But there's the sentiment that, like, well, shit, I feel like I've missed the boat on Solana. It's very expensive already. And, you know, I guess my final thought with you, and something I'd love to get your opinion on, just kind of so that people can hear it from more than just us. You know, this is still young. It's still a new, like, infantile industry, you know, and I think that something like Solana, if it can continue to do all of this stuff that it's been working on and continue to nail down the culture and grow that way, I mean, it might be expensive on paper, but overall, I think it's still a little baby.
Yeah, I mean, not financial advice, obviously, because it's got to be very dangerous. I think you could just look at fundamentals and have that kind of view. So if you say the Solana network is doing X number of transactions, a lot of those are meme coins, which I think people should not dismiss. I think they're very interesting, but a lot of it is also, USDC. A lot of it is actual genuine financial activity. If you believe in the hypothesis that a lot of transactions are going to move to these blockchains like Solana, then forget the price. It's not really a price comment. We're just getting started. And if you look at what's coming with Firedancer, with Solana, it's just the beginning. You're thinking about DPIN, you're thinking about millions of transactions. So that's how I look at it. How that relates to the price, very complicated, but
who's to say?
I don't personally think it's too late, but who knows?
Of course, price can do all sorts of crazy things. We try to avoid talking too much about price and just talk about ecosystem growth and all that good stuff instead.
Yep. Well, Hadley, thanks so much for giving us your time this morning. And I owe you half a sandwich at some point.
Yeah, I haven't forgotten. Turkey Club, Will. Turkey Club.
Yeah. I got you.
Man.
Turkey Club, I'm on it. But so thanks for the time. I know you have to head out, but you're welcome back on the show anytime, and I'll connect with you afterwards. So thank you again for taking the time with us and our audience. So appreciate you.
Awesome. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for having me.
You too, Hadley. Bye for now. That was Hadley Stern of Marinade Finance. If you missed the interview, you want to catch more of it.
Commercial Officer of I almost said Hadley Finance. Chief Commercial Officer of Hadley Finance of Marinade.
Which
Finance.
honestly would be a great name if he's looking for something to do at the next step of his career.
His own decentralized application.
Yeah, you can find the whole interview. It's going to be on YouTube. It's live there now, but you can watch the whole thing back. Good insights, and seemed like the kind of guy I'd want to steal a sandwich from. Absolutely, and another conversation for sure.
Yeah, if you ever see him eating a sandwich, interrupt him, guys, and he'll be right there. You can chat with him for about 15 minutes before he then has to run to a plane.
Danny Macker says, I didn't ask him a joke. He seems like the guy who might have had a joke at the ready. Next time, we'll ask him for a joke off the air and see if we can't give us one. If you're just joining, welcome. We have been talking with Hadley, and now we're here to answer your crypto questions. We have addressed the election only to share the results that Trump is, in fact, the victor. The Senate has flipped to a Republican majority, 51 to 49 Democrats, and the 52. House, 52.
Yeah, Democrats got crushed.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure I saw the Times say it was 51.
Feel free to fact check me, but I'm relatively...
Feel free to fact check yourself, brother. My internet connection is not like yours, okay? I'm working on this laptop computer. The House remains undecided. I just need a favor, man.
All right, sassy
180 to 198 was the last check I did before we went live, with the GOP leading the House, but there are several key races that remain undecided. They need 218 for a majority. What's the fact check, Maestro?
52.
I'm sorry?
52.
51. Press. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, get it right, New York Times.
And then one of the very anti-crypto senators also lost his election.
Sherrod Brown.
Elizabeth Warren won. But, as far as, Sherrod Brown, he's out. So that's good for crypto. And then even though Elizabeth Warren won, with the Republicans getting control of Congress and also Trump becoming president, her anti-crypto influence is also very much so pigeonholed.
Yeah. So now, of course, the ultimate.
So as far as crypto goes.
Well, maybe. The thing that, I would have said confidently, regardless of which way the whole thing went, was that now we need to walk this past vague platitudes and onto something that actually matters. And I got to say, as I have said for ages now, I don't have an overabundance of faith that we will transcend past the platitudes, at least rapidly.
Well, you shouldn't. Mathematically, you shouldn't, because it's 30% of all campaign promises get put into a bill. And then of those that get passed, it's another 30%. So, you never know what's going to happen. But,
I just worry that, it's go ahead.
I was just going to say, I didn't vote for the guy, but, I can just certainly, his crypto policies were more built out than Kamala. So if it is solely looking at platitudes of crypto to crypto policies, Trump's platitudes are a little bit more built out.
obviously, it's probably no secret I did not either. I am also one of those people, though, that, I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping, and we'll see. I think that one thing that I've been worried about, regardless, I'm a little bit less worried on the Republican side, just because it's a little bit more established. But I have been worried about, since crypto was kind of shoehorned into the election conversation. I'm a little worried that it was, and I think this is valid. I mean, you can say this, like you said, you can say this about pretty much anything. I'm worried that it was a campaign stump prop, and that nobody really cares that much, because, we'll see. There's been support in Congress on both sides for quite a while. And we haven't really gotten too much meaning. I think something that I'm curious about is to see how the makeup at the SEC changes. I'm curious to see if the CFTC changes direction. I'm curious to see, just because we also just got a Wells notice to Immutable.
We did?
We did.
Immutable got a Wells notice a couple days ago. Yep, which is wild to me. That's an interesting one for sure. We'll see what happens, because I mean, like you said, there I see a comment on the in the TikTok chat, that Gary's fired. He might. Yeah, he might but
be.
Again, it's not that easy. Of course, with Congress now on the other side, it doesn't even matter if it's a legitimate firing or not. It might stick regardless. But just for the record, you do have to have cause to fire the SEC chair. But disagreeing with him is not cause, unfortunately.
That is true. That is true. But we'll see. We'll see what Congress tries to do now with him. At the very least, when's his term up? The end of 2025?
Yeah.
Yes.
25.
Yes. So the end of 2025.
Just like
but
Hester.
still, with a Republican-led Congress, and also with Trump as president, he's gone by the end of 2025. Which to me is a big signal that at the very least by the end of 2025, we'll have someone in place where in 2026, we'll have staking turned on for the Ethereum ETF at the latest, at some point.
I do think about how fast they rammed ETF approval on the ETH side through, because it was like, Bitcoin was fighting for years before the commission voted to approve and bring that online. And then ETH was like, shit, ETH too. It was like,
and what a
20 minutes
wild
later.
reversal.
It was weird. Yeah, very strange.
And I didn't think it was that weird, honestly.
I didn't think it was weird. I felt the circumstances, the way it happened, was weird.
Although, Evan, I will, to split the difference a little bit, it is also probably fair to say that that's how it should go. If there's no great reason, like not to, it'd be like, oh yeah, here we have this valid application for a thing that has support and yada, 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 approve. Bitcoin was hyper atypical in how long it took them, to quit moving the goalpost back and back and back and back.
Yeah.
As before they did it, which Hester did a great job of outlining in her dissent not her dissent, but her like explanation following the approval, just about how the SEC really did everybody dirty with the way that they ultimately approved it and how long it took and all that stuff.
3 rapid fire comments. One from Casey Craig. Hello, Casey. I voted for Alex and was so sad he did not win.
Alex,
also,
you ran a shit campaign, dude.
I did a really bad job.
Yeah, can we get pop for Prez in 2024? Will, could you repeat what you said? Khalil wants to know about ETH staking, the ETH ETF, and then Alex, when did Immutable get the Wells notice? Will.
Yeah, well, the ETH ETF right now does not have staking turned on, in case you were unaware of that. And without staking, it has zero institutional interest, because in their eyes, they just want an asset. They have the choice between Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETF. They just want an asset that can give them exposure to the crypto industry. And to them, it's like buying Cocoa Puffs, your cereal box, right? Which is Bitcoin, or Cocoa Puffs, the knockoff brand from like China, which is Ethereum to them.
Or Chalky Balls or whatever.
Or Chalky Balls or something, But if Ethereum can get them exposure to the crypto industry and give them yield, now it becomes a tool that has institutional interest. So what we need for that to happen is we need the SEC to approve the option for BlackRock and all of the other Ethereum ETF companies to turn on staking. That's not going to happen with Gary Gensler as the head of the SEC. So if and when that does change, more likely when, and then the question becomes, is it going to be sometime in 2025 or it's going to be in 2026 where staking gets turned on for the Ethereum ETF? And when that happens, we're going to have an altcoin run, like a big altcoin run, because you'll see institutional money take profits from Bitcoin and put them into the ETH ETF. I almost guarantee you. And then you'll see coins all across the board start to do well, but in particular, coins in the Ethereum ecosystem.
I'm going to clip that ooh-wee. That's going on the soundboard.
Ooh-wee.
Oh my gosh. If you've got a crypto question.
Is that my first clip on the soundboard? Oh, God.
I think so. I think there are honestly several that I wish I could go back to. I might have to crowdsource it. And I'm also definitely putting fact check yourself on the soundboard. We do need an update to it. I have a variety of sounds I've got to get on there. In fact, I got 2 more today. I want to add a rewind sound because sometimes we say things that need a rewind. If you've got a crypto question, you got a comment, you want to share your thoughts on the election, then feel free to leave it below in the comments here on TikTok, here on YouTube, or at the Discord server where the show lives 24/7. It is Rise Up. discord.gg/riseup. And you can find that link also at the riseupmorningshow.com or in any of our bios. If you are a friend of the show, if we know you, if you're hanging out in our community, feel free to request and join like your favorite call-in radio show. If you want to do that, you do have to join over on tiktok.com. Find all of our profiles at the riseupmorningshow.com. Everything for the show is there. And as Tech CEO is reminding me, you got to buy the Rise Up Morning Show mug. It makes coffee taste better. It makes your morning look brighter. And this is not financial advice when I say that it might be the best, $15 plus shipping you spend this cycle.
The mug the mug is financial advice
as
far as cutlery is concerned.
I almost tried to pack it in my suitcase, but I'm without it because I was worried my luggage would be overweight.
Makes you richer. Well, one thing too, guys, is we're gonna need new mugs pretty soon.
We are gonna need new mugs for the new logo.
New mugs for the new logo.
You got it.
Which means Tech CEO gets some new things to sell. So he'll be pumped.
Yeah, definitely. New mug, new logo, new you. What was I going to say about it? Oh, if you want a mug for free, let me tell you real quick too. We have a lot of people want to know, like, hey, do you do mentorship? How can we learn about crypto with you? This show is great. We ask you our questions, but like, okay, hold on. We've tried to solve this problem, and here are the tools we have. Our Discord server, where the show lives 24/7, is a place anyone can come for free and ask us any of their crypto questions. We have great links there and at our website to our past recordings on YouTube, to live classes, coaching, and if you can't do a live class because your schedule doesn't work out with ours, we have recordings. We are constantly expanding a library of PDFs. Oh my God, Alex with the morning show mug over on YouTube. That looks so good. Can you show the TikTok people a little screenshot?
Oh my God. Oh, God, it looks so good. So much better.
Hold tight, it's coming.
It's so much better with my face there.
The way it is better. The way we've designed this community is such that most things are available to everybody for free, but if you want to accelerate your learning journey, you can get a membership. Look at that thing. Look at that. Likes for the mug in the chat.
Get a little zoom in.
Baby.
Can't see it.
We have memberships available through Patreon for just $9.99 a month to $19.99 a month, where you will get big time discounts on, like, if you want to come coach with us, big time discounts. And a lot more stuff for free. We do regular group office hours, which is like a free coaching call where you can just come hang out, ask your questions. We have a priority chat. And are you ready for this benefit? The best benefit of the premium membership at the Rise Up Morning Show is you get a mug for free.
What? Boom. Crazy.
So if you're a mugster, if you've been waiting, you don't want to spend the money on a premium membership, get some extra educational benefits, and we'll send you a mug because we love you.
I would also really like to point out that Alex zooms in and records things like a boomer. If anyone noticed that herky-jerky, extra like slow old man step getting closer to it.
All right, well, you know what? There's like stuff in the way. My phone is on a tripod. I'm not going to take it off of all of this.
I'm running out of oxygen.
I
No,
also
know.
need a sound clip
know.
of Will's laugh because it's.
I know.
I'm gonna pair it up with this sound because it's rich, man. It's a rich laugh.
It is.
Oh, yes, I go sailing.
Somebody wants to buy one, but
I'm
they're
not that rich.
hang on a second. If you're having trouble clicking the link to buy stuff in the TikTok shop, it may be TikTok shop. I've tried to work it out. The best place to go is theriseupmorningshow.com. If you are having trouble buying a mug and you really want to support the show, just send a DM. And that's the final thing that I need to say for a commercial disclaimer or whatever. These are our only profiles. We would love it if you'd follow us here to help combat all the spammers we have. There are dozens and dozens. Every day, new ones are created to impersonate us. They will reach out to you. We never will. To try and offer you all kinds of things to get you to click a link, tell them something about yourself in order to take your money. We will never do that. So the best thing to do if you need something from us is to send us a message. And honestly, it'd be better if you did it in the Discord because we get a lot of DMs. Or leave us a comment on our video because then we can reply to it with a video if it's a question or something like that. Okay, my commercials are done. Save me from myself. What's going on in the chat?
Well, I do want to just offer one clarification because this always happens, and I need to bake it into my disclaimer when I say this. When I say that firing Gary is not as easy as just firing Gary, I'm not trying to say that I don't want him to be fired. I'm just trying to set expectations because I'm a big believer in not just like offering vague bullshit and platitudes. I'm not a big platitude fan. So yes, that's how I feel about it.
That's how he feels.
All I'm saying is that it's not a cut and dry. He hasn't done anything egregious that is like, this is cause, fire him without argument. That's all I'm saying. I do believe,
Sorry.
and I hope that he gets the boot because he is horrendously disappointing as an official.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean the news. Really, I mean we all know the news. I saw some people asking.
Yep.
For a review of what happened this morning. This morning, we had an hour-long conversation with the chief commercial officer at Marinade, one of the top DeFi protocols, the number one staking solution for liquid staking solution for Solana. That was a great,
over a
great
billion
conversation.
TVL. I was like,
over a
whoa.
billion TVL. It's almost the size of all of the TVL on base. It's close.
XRP doesn't have that kind of TVL.
XRP wouldn't have that TVL if you multiplied it by
a lot.
Actually, I think it's about 97. You had to multiply it by about 97 or so to get. You take 97 or about 100 XRPs.
I'll tell you
to
I'll
do
tell
what
you right
Marinade
now.
has done. I'll tell you right now.
Right now.
But no, guys. I mean, what happened is Trump is now the president. Republican Congress elects, Trump will be president, in January, middle of January.
20th.
And now, you see Bitcoin pumping because Bitcoin very well might be considered a strategic reserve asset by the United States, which does potentially start an national arms race to do the same. What I would be really curious to see is now, because RFK Jr. is a part of Trump's campaign and platform now. Granted, he's not focused on anything financial or Bitcoin. He's entirely focused on trying to remove more of like the cancerous dyes that are within food sources within America. So he's more so focused on like the health of Americans. But with him there and a number of other crypto-friendly people who have also echoed his policy, which was, hey, let's make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset and then buy Bitcoin to the point where we end up having as much of the Bitcoin supply percentage-wise as the United States has gold. Because if you're unaware, the United States is the single largest holder of gold in the world, bar none. It would be very interesting to see if that idea wiggles its way into some policy that gets pushed forward in Congress, particularly now that Congress is Republican leaning, because that would be the biggest thing that could happen, because there's no bigger buyer in the world than the United States government when the United States government decides to buy something. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm honestly not really expecting to see anything Bitcoin policy related happen in the first 100 days. I'm probably I give it like a 2-year window to really see something potentially come out of the Trump administration. So yeah, I mean, now as we look to the crypto market, it's all about speculation as to what the United States is going to do with this, the more crypto friendly candidate won. And, we have the ideas of what's going to happen, but what the ideas were from a campaign and what actually happens ends up being different, usually by a wide margin. So, but now it's speculation. Will the United States turn on actual buying of Bitcoin to add to the strategic reserve? When will Bitcoin be switched to a strategic reserve asset? What kind of bills will be passed over the next year? We all think it's going to be pretty good, but to what extent is it going to be? Insofar as crypto is related, not talking, of course, about any other policies. And now that the speculation race is on, and if there's one thing we love in the crypto space, man, it's a good speculation race. Woo-wee.
Speculate on this. Somebody in the chat asked, what do we think about interest rates? Are we still looking at 25 basis points? The reverse Warren or the half Warren indicator, whatever it was?
The half Warren indicator.
The half Warren.
That's my personal expectation, mainly fueled by the weak jobs report that we got for the month of October, even though, as I've said, the jobs report was bad, but it was bad because of 2 gigantic hurricanes and 3 major strikes happening in the United States across Boeing, the portside strike, and then one other strike, the hotel strike, nationwide hotel strike. But even without those, I think the jobs report is still a little weak, even if none of those things were into account. So I think we'll get a 25 basis point cut, and I don't really see a 50 basis point cut. Definitely not on the cards. But we'll see. I give it like a 75% chance personally that we see that tomorrow.
Okay, 75. That's your over under. We love to speculate.
And
Put
the
your bets
reason
in
why
the
we
chat.
care about that, for those of you who don't know, is if interest rates keep coming down, it becomes less and less expensive to take out loans and borrow money, essentially. If it's less expensive to borrow loans, more people borrow loans. If more people borrow loans, there's more money in the system. If there's more money in the system, risk on assets and assets in general typically go upwards. That's why we care.
Well said. Alex, I know you have a hard stop in a minute. Whoa, what's that? We just got some lightning hands. Thank you very much. That was kind of cool. So what's your final thought, good joke, word of wisdom before you ride your, oh my God, we got it again. What even is that, Gecko?
I don't know. It makes me think of, oh God, what was that show on like Warner Brothers as a kid? It was like Electric Shock. I forget what it was.
Yeah. The cowboy hat is my favorite. Okay, Alex. Final thoughts, questions, suggestions, good jokes, word of wisdom before you ride your dog and pony off into the sunset, and Will and I close the show.
I think Will captured my final thoughts. Not too sure what all of this means. We are firmly in speculation territory. I don't know. I think the next probably 12 months are just super telling. We'll see. Something that you should have as much faith in as you would trust an anonymous developer sending you a pre-sale wallet for a Solana meme coin is, presidents' claims on what they're going to do on day one. I don't think they've ever in the history of presidents done the thing on day one. So we'll see what happens. But I think regardless, like we've been saying for months, Bitcoin is the thing. Bitcoin's gonna do just fine regardless. It's never had a friendly government before. We'll see how it goes.
Bitcoin good. Bitcoin go
that
up.
certainly hasn't stopped it, has it?
No. But now it does. But I mean, not like it's gonna stop. But now it has a crypto-friendly government in Washington. Yeah. This will be interesting.
Very interesting.
Anyway, I will see you guys this evening.
Okay, that sounds good, Alex.
Farewell,
we will see you. On that note, if you can't get enough Rise Up, then the place to be tonight is Rise Up After Dark. Starts at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we will be reviewing your alt picks, answering more crypto questions, hanging out, letting it all hang out. And we've got a new, courtesy of Keith, a theme song for Rise Up After Dark. So I can't wait to debut that jingle. His jingle for the morning show is one of my favorite parts about what we do, and I just am so glad for everybody to get to hear it. Will, I'm glad to take it anywhere you want to go, man, but I did see a really interesting question that I think we could just speculate on, since we love to speculate, is what would it take to confirm we are in a super cycle? I feel like I've heard a lot of people asking about that, and I I don't know that I personally find it a helpful label, because I think it's like trying to predict, unless it's in hindsight. How do you feel about the super cycle as an idea, and are we in one? If not, do you put any credence in it, and what would you need to see to say, oh yes, we are in the super cycle?
I mean, the only thing that'll tell you that you were in a super cycle is if you could time travel about 5-10 years out and then look back and go, oh yeah, that was a super cycle. Yeah, that's the only way. I mean, one thing you can keep an eye on is the total available supply of Bitcoin on OTC desks, as well as on centralized cryptocurrency exchanges.
And you're looking for a lot of supply, more supply than the last 2 years? What are you looking for?
I am looking for low supply, because low supply means that there is demand. If there's growing demand, then that supply should be coming down. Now, it's never a straight line down, just like with any chart, right? So you'll see, little, fluctuations up as people bring their Bitcoin to sell on the market, right? But ultimately, you're looking for a downwards trend to continue and remain strong on the available supply of Bitcoin. Because if the Bitcoin, I didn't even know there was a dog in your lap. I was like, what the hell is happening?
That's Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. But yeah, so keep your eyes on that. But like, you're never going to know. We're not going to know if we're in a super cycle. All I know is that I will not sell my Bitcoin, because what if we are in a super cycle? Yeah,
exactly.
What if we are? What if we are? It keeps going up. So I sell my altcoins. I don't sell my Bitcoin. If I sell my altcoins at a bad spot, but I make money, hey, that's fine. If my Bitcoin keeps going up because of that, hey, that's great. I'm not missing out. So, there's no real way to know, but there's a possible chance. And certain policies of, if the United States comes out and says, hey, they're buying Bitcoin, if Microsoft on December 10th votes to add Bitcoin onto their balance sheet, that's going to kick off a lot of companies doing the same thing. And you're just continuously pouring gasoline onto this fire that is eating up Bitcoin's available supply, and is most likely only going to grow for an asset that's super hard, which is why there is a chance for there to be a super cycle. But gold had a super cycle when its ETF first came out, and it still had 30% corrections along the way. So, 30, 20% corrections along the way. So just because it's a super cycle doesn't mean Bitcoin can't go down 30 to 20%. It did basically in this March. We're going to look back at that period from like March until October of Bitcoin just going sideways. And it's going to seem like it took forever and it was a horrible time, but we're going to look back at that and be like, oh, those prices were really nice. But you're also going to look back at that and remember that during that time, your altcoins went down 60 to 80%, some of them. And when Bitcoin in its super cycle goes down 20%, your altcoins are going down those 60, 70, 80% again. It's just what altcoins do, guys. So make sure you take profits along the way in your altcoin positions. And then with Bitcoin's the only one I would say, this is not financial advice, it's the only one I would say where you potentially hodl it. Maybe you take some profits there along the way, right? Particularly if you need some money, or, I've even said if Bitcoin gets up to like $200,000, like, maybe I shave off one or two, right? Because that's a lot of fucking money. But yeah, that's why I really think like hodl your Bitcoin, sell and take profits on your altcoins. And then as we were talking about like yesterday with Casey, be totally fine sitting in assets that don't appreciate much in value, like your stable coins. Take your stable coins, put it on Coinbase or whatever, earn some interest, sit back, chill on the profit that you made, wait for a good buying opportunity. Because even if your altcoin does continue up higher, odds are when Bitcoin does correct, it's going to be lower than where you sold. Odds are, since it could fall that 60 to 70% again when Bitcoin falls a 20%, right? So just be patient, And Bitcoin's not a big mover, but it does move up more than it moves down as well. So, if you have a long-term time horizon, it's also a pretty damn good place to park your money. And then also you get to feel better. Like right now where altcoins are still struggling, like my Bitcoin's still going up. And yeah, it's only a few percentage points, but it's going up. I'm a pretty big fan of that. Although my Aerodrome is up 14% today. So I'm
Arrow's having a good day. Arrow's having a good day.
Yeah.
I will just say, by way of, I want to answer one last question for my kind of last thought. So be thinking about your last thought, your good joke, your word of wisdom, question, suggestion, and then don't forget to join us tonight. I think less about super cycles and more about hyper Bitcoinization, which is sort of a trendy narrative a couple years ago. And it's just the idea that Will has stated right now, like Bitcoin is going up over time. And as more institutions, more retail investors, more people become familiar with how to use this technology and the benefits it brings them, they will come to expect them, to demand them. And as that happens, it will accelerate many different things. The value of Bitcoin, the loss of value of fiat currencies will probably be accelerated by that. And, I think it's a lot less helpful to say, is my Bitcoin up 3% today, down 3% today? Is it going to go up 50% tomorrow? And just keep a focus on targets, accumulation over time. If your thesis is it's going up, like you said, well, man, if it went up big time, I might sell a little and buy some ice cream, but I'd be buying back in on the dip.
You'd be that guy who buys pizza with Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have to use 10,000 of them, which would be nice.
No, but 10 years from now, it'll be like just as equivalent of a bad financial move.
yeah, exactly. The comment I wanted to address really quickly is, am I too late to invest? If not, then when? I would say, Casey said a good piece of advice yesterday on the show, which is just put $100 in Bitcoin, because cryptocurrency is different than any other asset class. It's much more volatile. The markets are on 24/7, and the culture around investing in crypto is probably different than anything you're used to also. And by $100, what she really means is...
Unless you're used to meme stonks.
Unless you're used to meme stonks and, the degenerate parts of the internet.
Then you got it. Then you got it.
Yeah. The key is not to put in an amount that would hurt for you to lose. So wherever you are, the $100 might be a lot for you, but get some exposure that will incentivize you to pay attention and that will give you some feedback, emotional feedback, especially if you're a new investor, like you don't invest right now or you don't actively invest, then you need to get a feel for yourself. You must know yourself. That is the beginning of wisdom. And that wisdom will affect every trade you make anywhere, but especially in crypto. I think you should learn about Bitcoin first, learn about stable coins. I don't think it's too late to invest at all, but I think it's really foolish to invest before you know how to buy, sell, transfer, and secure your crypto safely, what cryptocurrency is, like what problems it solves and why it might matter, and just a little more about the world of it, so that you can move around safely. So that if your $100 goes up to $1,000, you aren't saying, "Oh no, how do I sell?" Or you don't sell and get a 10% fee that you had no idea was there, or there's a lockup period, or something like that. You don't want to get scammed, schemed. There are so many different ways to lose your money here that you don't want to find that out in a way that costs you too much. So my recommendation to you is get a little exposure, and then come back to the show. We're here Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. We're here Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. We have lots of resources on YouTube, and we have a free Discord community where you can ask your questions, learn, share what you know, and we say rise up with others just like you. Plus, we got live classes. We've got coaching. We're expanding the resources all the time, and the only thing missing, really, truly, is you.
We actually had a lot of people join this morning. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
awesome.
8. Oh, we had 8 new friends join from the live. Huzzah!
Huzzah, indeed! Welcome,
Huzzah.
friends, and say hi to us there. Let us know where you're, where you're coming from, what you're thinking about, and that's me. I'm Will Met. We'll be back tonight. What do you got, Will? Any final thoughts to be riding to the sunset?
I feel like I should have something. Here we go. We've obviously had a big political change in the United States. Pro-crypto friendly folks have won. If you're a Republican, you're happy. If you're a Democrat, you are sad. I am a registered Democrat, but the crypto side balances some things out for me. But the thing is if you are a Republican and you're super happy that you guys are in, still keep an eye on them. Make sure, put pressure on them to do the crypto things that you want. If they aren't, call in to your senator, your congressman or woman, and try to put pressure on them. Just because they're in there doesn't mean that we still don't need to keep them accountable to do what they need to do. And if you are a Democrat, get them next time. But also do the same thing as well. Like, call your representatives also. Make sure that they are, express to them that, you are interested in crypto, that you are one of their constituents, that it's a very important topic to you, and keep pace of what's going on in Washington, and make sure that you are keeping your representative in touch with your desires as a cryptocurrency investor and supporter, because just because the crypto-friendly government is now in doesn't mean that they're going to do everything that they said. The citizens need to continuously make sure that our voices are heard in our government, not just in our elections, but throughout, while our senators, congressmen, and women, and president is at work. So, just do that. It's not just a one-day event, everybody. So keep at it, and one step at a time. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, we're all just trying to work for a better future. So that's it.
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you, Will. Thank you for being here, for lending your perspective and expertise, and thanks to all of you for being the best part of what we do. We're going to be back in just about 10.5 hours. If you need us in the meantime, we'll be in the Discord community, but go out, be nice to yourself. Buy a little coffee, buy a little Bitcoin, touch some grass today, and then come back and hang out with us.
Buy some ice cream with some Bitcoin,
and buy some ice cream with some Bitcoin, or buy the Rise Up Morning Show mug. It's all you need to enjoy your day today. So thank you, my friends. We love you. Make a lot of money. Be safe. Until next
Do
time.
good things, be good people.
Yeah.
Make a bunch of money.
Rise up, my friends. Bye for now.
Yoo-hoo.
And this is the bonus